Why do good people do evil? Not villains, not tyrants, not criminals lurking in the shadows, but everyday people, prepares, friends, even you and me. History is not built only by monsters. It is built by millions of ordinary hands, following orders, staying silent, or choosing comfort over conscience. And here lies a disturbing truth. The line between good and evil does not run between us and them. It runs through every human heart. Philosopher Peter Singer, one of the most influential thinkers on ethics today, forces us to confront this question. He argues that morality is not about how we feel about ourselves, but about the real consequences of our actions or our inaction. So why do seemingly good people allow atrocities to happen? Why do we walk past suffering, knowing full well we could help? And how does this blindness reveal a darker side of human nature? One Singer insists we cannot afford to ignore. Today, we dive into the uncomfortable reality, not why evil people do evil, but why good people do. Let's begin with one of the most chilling truths psychology has ever uncovered. In the 1960s, psychologist Stanley Milgram conducted an infamous experiment. Volunteers were told to administer electric shocks to a stranger whenever they answered a question incorrectly. The stranger's screams of pain were staged, but the participants didn't know that. The shocking discovery? Most people obeyed. They continued delivering what they thought were dangerous shocks, even when the person begged for mercy, even when silence suggested they had passed out. These were not sadists. They were ordinary people, teachers, shopkeepers, secretaries, people who thought of themselves as going. Yet, when authority instructed them, they became instruments of harm. Singer draws on these lessons to remind us, morality isn't about what we say we believe. It's about what we do when pressure is applied. Obedience, conformity, and fear often overpower compassion. Good people may follow evil orders because the cost of disobedience feels greater than the cost of someone else's suffering. And in that calculation, morality is betrayed. Hannah Arendt, in describing Adolf Eichmann, coined the phrase, the banality of evil. Eichmann wasn't a madman foaming with hatred. He was a bureaucrat. He organized train schedules for deportations. He followed rules. He sat behind a desk and filed paperwork that enabled genocide. Singer connects this with our modern lives. We imagine evil as dramatic acts of cruelty. But far more often, evil looks ordinary. It looks like a manager who stays silent about abuse to keep their job. It looks like a citizen who ignores injustice because it's not my problem. When evil becomes systemic, participation feels routine. No one thinks of themselves as the villain. Instead, they just do their job. And yet, the machinery of suffering runs precisely because ordinary people keep it running. So when we ask why good people do evil, the answer may be painfully simple. Because evil often disguises itself as normal life. Singer pushes the question further. Is evil only about what we actively do, or also about what we fail to do? Imagine this. You walk past a shallow pond and see a child drowning. Without hesitation, you would jump in and save them, even if it meant ruining your shoes or being late for work. To let the child die would be unthinkable. But Singer forces us to see the inconsistency. Every day, children die from preventable diseases, from hunger, from lack of clean water, while we spend money on luxuries. If we could save a life with the cost of a dinner out, yet choose not to, are we morally different from the passerby who watches a child drown? Here lies the sting of Singer's philosophy. Evil is not only in cruelty, but in neglect. We may call ourselves good because we do not harm others directly, but by refusing to act when we could prevent suffering, we allow evil to flourish. Good people do evil, not because they hate, but because they look away. Why is it so easy to look away? Singer points to psychological distance. A child suffering in front of you is real. A statistic about 1 million starving children feels abstract. Our empathy shrinks as the numbers grow. Psychologists call it compassion fade. This is why people will donate more to save a single identifiable child than to save thousands. Our minds aren't built to feel the weight of distant suffering. But Singer argues that morality is not about what we feel. It is about reason. A life across the world is just as valuable as the life of a child in front of you. If we allow feelings to dictate morality, we will always fail when evil hides in numbers, in distance, in faceless masses. And this is how good people tolerate horrors like war, poverty, and exploitation. Not because they approve, but because their hearts cannot grasp the scale, and their reason falls silent. Another reason good people commit evil is the power of justification. We tell ourselves stories. I'm just following orders. Everyone else is doing it. One person can't make a difference. If I don't do it, someone else will. Each excuse chips away at responsibility. Each rationalization makes the intolerable seem tolerable. Singer highlights how consumer choices, for example, connect us to hidden suffering. Buying cheap clothes may support sweatshops. Eating factory-farmed meat may perpetuate animal cruelty. Yet, because the harm is invisible, we justify it as normal. Good people rarely see themselves as evil. Instead, they weave narratives that make their choices feel acceptable. And in those narratives, entire systems of suffering are maintained. If this picture feels bleak, Singer does not leave us without hope. The fact that ordinary people participate in evil also means that ordinary people can resist it. History remembers those who broke the pattern, whistleblowers who exposed corruption, citizens who sheltered refugees, activists who fought injustice. These were not superheroes. They were humans who refused to accept excuses. Singer's philosophy challenges us. Morality requires courage. It requires choosing what is right, even when it is costly, uncomfortable, or unpopular. Good people do evil when they follow the crowd. But good people can also become extraordinary when they dare to step out of line. So why do good people do evil? Because obedience feels easier than resistance. Because silence feels safer than speaking. Because distance dulls our compassion. Because excuses shield us from guilt. But here is the deeper truth. Evil thrives not because of monsters, but because of the millions who let it pass unchallenged. Singer leaves us with a haunting responsibility. If we want to call ourselves good, then goodness cannot be passive. It cannot be about intentions or self-image. It must be about action, about what we are willing to sacrifice to reduce suffering in this world. The question is no longer, why do good people do evil? The question is, will you continue the pattern, or will you break it?